All right, I will call the May 2nd, 2023 Board of Education meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Kate Thomas,
Here.
Troy Carr,
Here.
Deb Baker,
Here.
Jim Hansen,
Present.
Clay Colomb is absent with notice, Jamie Clapham,
Here.
Michael Berkland.
Here.
Kevin, our student rep. Big Crow. Laura. And I presume Megan is still coming. Thank you.
All right, tonight we have Randy Brock from Open Bible for the invocation. Thank you.
Very much. Lord, you told us in your word that we need wisdom, just ask. Father, we are asking right now. Wisdom, you know, Lord, each and every one around these tables, Lord, are appointed by you. Every one of these parents and people, Lord God, that are here to speak. Lord, we trust in the process. Thank you for this. So we're asking for your will to be done here on earth, just as it is in heaven. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States,
To the republic which stands one nation.
All right, I would propose that with the approval of the proposed agenda, we vote to make the extension of the open forum time by at least 10 minutes and make the time 4 minutes each. So I need a motion to approve the proposed agenda. Deb?
Make a motion.
I'll second. All right, roll call.
Kate,
Yes.
Troy,
Yes.
Deb, yes, Jim,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
and Michael.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, we are on to sharing of the success. Mrs. Swaggart.
Good evening. Good evening, President Thomas and the Board of Education. This might be my favorite night of celebration this year because we have some really fantastic things happening. First and foremost, it is Staff Appreciation Week, although Mr. Berkland and I were just talking and there seems to be some discrepancy online about whether it's this week or next week, but our schools are celebrating it this week. So we're going to go with this week. I think every week should be Staff Appreciation Week. So we'll just read it now, but we can celebrate it all year long. Staff Appreciation Week is observed annually the first full week of May. This is a time to honor all Rapid City area school staff for helping mold future citizens through guidance and education. Teachers, paraprofessionals, custodians, student nutrition, bus drivers, buildings and grounds and maintenance staff, nurses, clerical staff, district social workers, counselors, psychologists, and many others encounter students daily of widely differing backgrounds. Our country's future depends on providing quality education to all students. That is what public education is all about. Teachers and staff spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling, coaching students while performing community service, Our community recognizes and supports Rapid City area schools in educating the children of this community. The Board of Education and myself strongly encourage all members of the community to join with us in personally expressing appreciation to our staff for their dedication and devotion to their work. And I would challenge anybody in the audience today, the board, and anybody watching, please take time to reach out and touch base with your most inspirational educator. It means a lot, even if it's years later in coming. And in the recognition, and also recognize any teachers that your students are working with or have worked with in the past. It's very meaningful when you have a student reach out or a family reach out and tell you that made a difference. So I encourage you to do that. Second tonight, it is our second annual Student Volunteer of the Semester night. So we are recognizing student from Rapid City High School, from Stevens High School, and from Central High School. And I'm excited to start tonight with Rapid City High School. So I have had the pleasure of having Kimber come to some student voice forums this year, and I've appreciated everything she has brought to those meetings. So this is especially meaningful to me. Any student or staff can nominate a student for a Rapid City Area School Student Volunteer of the Semester. In 2022-23 school year, we will be selecting one student in December and one student in March. All students recognized for Student Volunteer of the Semester will be shared on the Helpline Center, Community Spirit of Volunteerism Committee, and for additional community recognition opportunities. Kimber is our Student of the Month from Rapid City High School. She got involved in Take Action this past fall. She actively engaged in a co-facilitator role at Freshman Impact event. And as a co-facilitator, she worked alongside Youth and Family Services and Wavy in sharing resources and support information after young people watched a short film on social media and dating violence. She was confident in sharing information and responded well to the adult mentors as they provided constructive feedback on the presentation. She has created a passion to begin discussions about hard to talk about topics that are relevant to youth. She has met with her PBIS staff and requested they also consider using Take Action short films to support students in connecting to the community resources. Her involvement has led her to engaging in the West River Human Trafficking Awareness Committee work. She is also actively engaged in conversations at the Student Voice Forum meetings. She is one of the first students from Rapid City High School to represent and share their insight about educational successes and concerns. She has served as a great advocate in recruiting other young people from Rapid City High School to share their voice and engage in service work in the community and in schools. Kimber has high energy and confidence to not only engage in community work, but also to involve her peers. She has a desire to learn more so that she can do more, which is exciting to see. Since Kimber is just getting started, it will be exciting to see where her determination and advocacy will lead her in the upcoming year. I am confident that she will try many new things and create positive impact in our community. Congratulations, Kimber. Yes. Your name's on a flag. Stevens High School nominee and winner is Madison Hoffman. Madison volunteers for the Stevens FFA, doing Pets on the Go, traveling to surrounding middle schools instructing students about agriculture and natural resources and companion animals. She oversees the station about natural resources and brings the classroom corn snake to teach kids about caring for and handling snakes and other reptiles. This project led to her volunteering at the Black Hills Raptor Center, which provides educational programs to the public. She assists with showing props, handling the birds of prey, and presentations. She travels with other volunteers to places such as schools, senior centers, and local zoos such as reptile gardens. They give presentations on the history of raptors, their adaptations, information about each species under their care, and different diseases and injuries that can affect the birds. She interacts with audiences and answers questions, comments that people might have. Both volunteer projects provide an opportunity to educate the community on agriculture, natural resources, and specialty animals. Madison also volunteers at the Black Hills Raptor Center facilities, providing general animal husbandry, care, feeding, cleaning the habitats, and helping manage birds of prey. Madison has become an outstanding leader in both FFA and the community. She has learned valuable leadership skills, shown personal and professional growth, and has invested over 100 hours of volunteer time in the education programs and volunteering at the Black Hills Raptor Center in the last year. Congratulations, Madison. For that, here's a plaque with your name on it. All of that. I think they hang that up at the school. Central High School. I think Mr. Seals is not here, but yes, but Mr. Wheely, who nominated him, is here. Miko. Miko has served in a variety of settings that include supporting Rapid City's Red Ribbon Week, 2 food drives, 1 blood drive, and nearly a dozen color guard events for the school and community. In doing so, he advocated for a drug-free lifestyle, reaching thousands of community members and students across the Rapid City area. His food drive efforts resulted in the collection of approximately $500 in cash donations and hundreds of pounds of food for local families in need during the holiday season. In conjunction with the Vitalent Blood Service, Miko led the ROTC Club's blood drive, which resulted in nearly 50 donations that would support patients across the region. Finally, his participation in several color guards brought honor and distinction to the opening of school and community events. Miko should be recognized not only due to his aforementioned personal contributions across the community, but also because he has inspired and led his fellow students to serve the community. He has gone above and beyond his normal obligations to make his community a better place, and by doing so has brought great credit upon Rapid City Area Schools, Central High School, and Junior ROTC. He has stood out as a student leader and served as an outstanding example for his peers. Miko is also a member of the National Honor Society, a member of JROTC's Color Guard team, Exhibition Drill team, and Raider Challenge team. He aspires to become a commissioned officer in the U.S. military, where he may continue to serve his nation. I find it very interesting that Miko's nomination talked about above and beyond, because we are also here with Rapid City Public School Foundation to draw 40 names for people in our district who have been invited or been nominated because they have gone above and beyond in the school district this year. So I'm going to ask the team to come forward and go ahead and do those drawings. Are you ready to write? Shirley? Okay.
Thank you. We're really ecstatic tonight to be able to share with the education community that thanks to Danny Menholt, he sponsors this program every year where we are able to give a $50 check to teachers and staff and custodians and everyone that have been nominated for going above and beyond. And it's a really awesome feeling to walk into a teacher or a admin person and give them this check that they can spend on themselves and not on the classroom. So we have about 610 nominations from across the district, and they're all in this bag here. We just randomly draw them. So, and they're all winners, they're right. Joe Gill from West Middle School. Rhonda Bryan from North Middle School. Sean Binder from Up City High School. Yes, don't tell him. Peggy Saxer from the administration building. Carrie Leidy from Corral Southwest. She's the nurse there. Katie Cartel from Pinedale. I think it's Cartiel. Lisa Armour from Corral Drive. Amy Hengen, Pinedale interventionist. Kim Foster from Valley View. Desiree Clapperich from Southwest and Robbinsdale. Johnson from Stevens. Holly Bosson from Wilson. Eric Fodness from Stevens High School. Jay Kolkman from Greg Starr from Stevens High School. Stephanie Hunter from Lincoln. Powell from Wilson. Oh, excuse me, Megan Powell. Jackie Richards from Valley View. Carla Shipper from Wilson. Is that 20? Okay. Pam Patrick from Horace Mann. Christy Taylor from Jefferson. Shelley Peterson from Jefferson. Heidi Peterson, West Middle School. Emily Murhad from West. Sarah Kegel from Stevens High School. Okay, good. From the house. I think it's Kerry Parsons from Canyon Lake. Matthew, I'm sorry, Figueredo from West Middle School. Mark Myers from West Middle School. Stacy Cheddar from Pinedale. Christy Tays from Norwood. Rhonda Lip from Rapid City High School. Chris Wallhaven from Stevens High School. Noah Hambeck from Central High School. Lindsay Wentz from North Middle School. Okay. Aaron Preston from Blackhawk. Lisa Kirkpatrick from Wilson. Ted Bird, a bus driver. Caitlin Trupton from Wilson. And last is Jan Weichler from Lincoln. So thank you so much for letting us do this. Again, thank you to Danny Manholt for sponsoring this. It's really a lot of fun.
Bob, can you draw one more? I think at least one person is not with the district any longer.
Okay,
Okay, thank
we're
you.
gonna draw one more.
Just draw an alternative.
We'll do it. Okay. Katie Priscilla from Valley View.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, and be sure to send pictures because I know you take pictures when you go out to all those classrooms. That is it for celebration tonight, President
Wonderful,
Thomas.
thank you. Okay, so we are on to persons wishing to address the board. A reminder that issues that affect an individual or particular school should be addressed at the building level. Speakers should focus on their main points and not be repetitive. Personnel matters or complaints that directly or indirectly identify an employee or shall not be discussed. And to maintain civil dialogue, threats and intimidation are not allowed. And our first speaker is Haywood Robinson, and I'll remind you, everybody does have 4 minutes.
Thanks. I want to talk today about certification. I don't think that our district has a lack of teaching problem. I think we have a lack of retention problem. I know a lot of people who have been teachers are now no longer teachers. They found that it was untenable to remain in their current positions. And I think that is, a real challenge that we need to address. Something that might have flown under the radar, however, is the certification at the state level. And I myself have had a real problem getting through the process. Hopefully that there's a new process through a educator portal through southdakota.gov, and it is not functional. And that is causing a real problem for some people that were hired onto the district. I know that they are not able to, they are essentially just long-term subs waiting for their benefits to be activated because they're not able to gain their proper position. I myself am nervous about this because the district has a history of, saying, oh, you don't have your certificate. We're looking for, just a long-term sub then. And it makes me very apprehensive about signing a contract, which I do not know that I can fulfill, right? And not knowing that, hopefully it will get ironed out, or you can ask for some pressure on the state level. I would really appreciate that. And I know a lot of people in my building have a lot of stress about that issue. And we don't know if we can sign contracts. We don't know, and maybe if they can't speed it up, there can be some kind of clause in the contract that's like a hold harmless clause saying, don't worry, we'll reinstate you as, once your certificate gets ironed out from this whole process, because it is a nightmare. I've made 11 person-to-person contacts with the DOE, which is more than enough to individually certify each one of my transcripts, which I've handed them, and they have assured me that are all in, and my payments in, and everything is in order, just their processing is in arrears or in failure. And that is maddening. And I assure you that there are many teachers on the fence about whether or not they're going to stay in the district, and this is a tipping issue. And I don't want to see that. That brings me to another issue that I'm concerned about, is the retention, that we seem to be in a state of just hiring people as long-term subs. And I think this is a real issue, not only for the lack of coverage and certified help for these students that they expect from us, but also in the fact that it doesn't pay that much better than an hourly job at another business that would have benefits. And I have questions about a person who would just want to sit in a class with students and not even teach them. And how long until there's someone who is a genuine danger to these students pops in, and we just kind of have to take them because we're not offering our community anything to, do this job. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Sunny Red Bear.
Hello, my name is Sunny Red Bear. I am a part of the Rapid City versus Racism campaign here in Rapid City. And just had a few things I'd like to speak about. As a concerned member of the community, I wanted to bring to the attention of the Rapid City area schools, the board, the pervasive issue of racism that continues to plague our school district. It is with great urgency that we highlight the intense and harmful incidents of racism that our students have been subjected to, which not only impacts their well-being, but also their ability to thrive academically and emotionally. It is imperative for the Rapid City Area School Board to acknowledge the existence of racism within our schools and take decisive action to address it. This includes the implementation of anti-racist policies that explicitly condemn racism in all of its forms, and the establishment of mandatory trainings for all staff, faculty, and students to raise awareness about racism, privilege, and unconscious biases. Furthermore, the cost of racism is not just measured in the terms of the harm it inflicts on our students, but also in the financial burden it places on our taxpayers. Studies have shown that racism has a significant economic cost, including lost productivity, increased healthcare costs, and decreased property values. Taxpayers in Rapid City are indirectly bearing the financial burden of racism, and it is imperative that we take steps to eliminate this cost by creating a safe and inclusive educational environment for all students. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Andrew Ironshell.
Good evening, school board members. One thing I'd like to say at the beginning was at the last meeting, I was a little upset because when the public spoke, many of you were on your phones and many of you were on your laptops. And so I watched that video over and over and I timed it, how long you guys were not attentive to the public. And so I wanted to just remind you of who we are as the public and that we should offer that courtesy to each other, right? In Lakota country, it's a protocol to acknowledge one another in this space, especially when somebody's speaking truth to power like that. So I just wanted to mention that at the beginning. But also I'm here as a parent of students in the school district, as an uncle, as a grandfather to students in this district. And like Mrs. Red Bear had said, racism is real. And it's real in our institutions, it's real in our school district, and it's real to the children that go to school every day in Rapid City. And so I think it's imperative that we say that. We say racism, we say genocide, we say those things that are part of our community that are uncomfortable, and we acknowledge them together because By doing so is the only way we're going to arrive at shared solutions of respect, of dignity, of the power of that. And our students need to see that role modeled between the Native community and the non-Native community. But you guys have to mirror that as the school district, as the leaders of this educational system, that our student, that all different colors of nationalities, genders, sexual orientation, they're all part of our school district. And many of them are experiencing racism. I happen to be in a role in my job where I hear these things daily, as maybe many of you do. But I hope you take it to heart like we do, because it's real to these children and it's causing them harm and it's impacting the community values that we all want to aspire to, right? And so I think that common courtesy, acknowledging these hard things as they come forward to you, and not just leaving it for the next school board administration or to the next principal, or moving a coach because of things, we need to address these things head on. And I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Anissa Martin. Did I say that right?
Hello. Good evening, Anissa Martin and Machiapi. I support everything that was previously stated. And I just wanted to add that we demand accountability and action to ensure the safety and well-being of all of our students, regardless of their race or ethnicity. Racism has no place in our schools, and we must strive to create an inclusive and equitable environment where all students feel valued, respected, and supported. It is our responsibility as a community to come together, confront racism head on, and take concrete steps to dismantle it from our schools. Our students deserve a safe and inclusive learning environment that nurtures their growth and empowers them to reach their full potential. So we must take action now to make this a reality and create a better future for all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Hermes Bettelyoung.
Hello, I come to you guys this evening. My son is enrolled in Rapid City Central High School. And we struggle getting him to school every day because he gets picked on continuously and criminalized by staff members. And it's really hard as a Native parent, a single Native dad, to continuously get him to go to school. I finally got him to get to school, and I told him, just do your best. Try to just tough it out. The school year is almost over. But we had a town hall meeting, which parents and the community came and brought to light the racism that their students are facing on a day-to-day basis in our Rapid City area schools. And that happened on a Thursday night. By Monday morning, I went and picked my son up from school. He went to school Friday and Saturday. I picked him up from school because the staff members had targeted him and picked on him. Just today, he went to use the toilet. He said, Dad, I just sat down and the SRO came in and asked me why I'm skipping class. That's a private place. He was accused of smoking in the restroom, and he told him he didn't. The principal told him to empty his pockets for their safety. That's a violation of our civil rights. Nobody has a right to search anyone's person unless they're a danger to society. But these people are put in these places, these positions of power, and they abuse it. And they wonder why people like me end up the way we are. We stand up for ourselves because we get tired of it. It's got to stop. And if you have the power to stop it, then that's on you. I challenge you to step up to the plate and control your staff members. It's really hard as a parent to keep my mouth shut, and I won't do it no more. It's hard as a Lakota man in my own territory to get treated and have my children treated this way. We're gonna have another town hall meeting. Maybe at some point, you as elected officials should attend those and see what the community is talking about. See how the community is affected by your staff members. Our Lakota students are on that pipeline from school to prison pipeline. And it's because the challenges they face every day, I would give up too. I would give up at that point because I don't want to get treated that way. And I see the frustration and the challenges they face every day. Unless you turn a blind eye, this has got to stop at some point. And a lot of people you talk about genocide and racism, and people are scared to talk about those subjects. But if you don't face them head on, that's never going to stop.
Thank you. Christine Frederick?
Good evening. First, thanks for being here. We know that it takes a village to run our school district, and we appreciate the parts that you play in that. There's an adage that we can't fix something that is broken if we don't know it's broken. And so tonight I'm here to share with you something that is broken. I don't think many people probably know it, because I have faith that if a lot of people knew this, that we would be doing better. Because to be honest, until it affected me, I didn't know it was broken. And I'm very versed in the school district. My mother and my grandmother retired as teachers. I graduated. I've had students in the district. I've had students that have graduated. I've played every role from PTA president to being on key communicators to be on committees. And I had no idea that this happens in the district until I became employed as in the district. I was a sub in the district for 7 years before I took a secretarial position, which now I have been in for 2 years. When you are hired as a secretary, you are placed on a placement schedule based on where HR deems your relevant experience. And once you are placed on that schedule, you do not move. Let me repeat that. You do not move. You don't gain any salary increase for your knowledge, your skills, your job performance, or your commitment to your building and your district. So in a scenario for you would be that Sally takes a position within the district, has, some experience, has not maybe been in an office setting for the last 10 years, been a substitute. She's placed in a medium level of work experience. Her friend takes a job across the street. 5 years later, Sally's friend decides she's going to apply for an opening in Sally's building, in Sally's office. Sally will train her. Sally's friend comes in making more than Sally because she's deemed that she has 5 years of work experience. She doesn't know how to answer the phone. She doesn't know how the intercom works. She can open Skyward, but she cannot find any pertinent information. And now Sally is training her, making less. Because in the scenario, like I said, once you are placed on the placement schedule, you do not move. So I see a flaw in this, and I would hope that a lot of people would see a flaw in this. As I said, I didn't know about this issue until I became a secretary. As involved as I was, I never knew this existed. But there are secretaries that are in our district that have been here over 5 years, have not received a raise because of where they were placed when they came in. There are people that they work with at the same level that have come and gone, coming in, making more than them, and have left. And yet these secretaries are still here. And as we would say, secretaries hold many things together. And I think this is too important of an issue for us to try to do better as a district. I think we want to do better. It would be a win-win for the employee to be able to stay and continue, and the district to receive the benefit of the knowledge and the commitment of those secretaries. So I just encourage you. I know it's always said we need to work through negotiations, but it's hard when you negotiate with 7 groups. But so I encourage you as a district to make this a priority.
Thank you. Lawrence Thompson.
Good evening, board. My name is Florence Thompson. I'm president of South Dakota Parents Involved in Education. And I'm also a retired school psychologist with over 40 years experience in the schools. And I'm a grandmother of a public school student. I'd like to talk a little bit about strategic planning. I notice that's on the agenda. I think strategic planning should address the reasons that the enrollment is down approximately 400 students. A larger number of potential students are not being enrolled in RCAS, while alternative education options are growing. I like to think of this like a leaky bucket. It would be wise for the RCAS strategic planners to learn what holes are in the bucket that have caused all these students to leak away. I believe the woke agenda brought in explicit sexuality education, pornographic books, LGBT boosterism, critical race theory, racial division. Add to this discipline problems and lackluster academic performance. Parents who feel strongly that they must protect their children from these things choose other alternatives at great expense. These families and others who agree with them are unlikely to support a bond issue for new buildings for a system which is already taking their tax dollars while not meeting their education needs. And I think we need to plug the holes in that bucket. And I hope the strategic planners will look into some of these families and with their reasons for not being in the district, because they're voting with their feet. And you may argue with them and say, this isn't happening, or that isn't the way it is, or whatever. But the point is that that is the way they feel, and they are leaving because in their view, RCAS is not meeting their needs for their kids.
Thank you. Heather Baxter.
Good evening, board. So I will start this with, if you are a minor and you don't want to be exposed to what's at your school and what you have available at your fingertips as a 6th grader to 12th graders, then please feel free to leave the room now, because I would hate to offend you by what's available at the schools. South Middle School and Stevens 6th graders get to read Girl in Translation. In the book, it says, I had never been naked with a man before, and that skin felt warm and rough. He must have taken care of the condoms somehow. Then suddenly he was inside me. I gasped, but it didn't hurt as much as I expected it to. And then I couldn't think at all anymore. When he finally came, he began to cry again. We both lay there together, returning to ourselves. This is at a middle school where 6th graders can check this out. That I kept it clean with what I read from their 6th grade book. Federal law strictly prohibits the distribution of obscene matter to minors. Any transfer or attempt to transfer to minors, including over the internet, is punishable under federal law. It appears some members of the board, supervisors, some librarians and teachers may be guilty of trafficking and pornography to our children, which breaks federal law. I bring this up because if you're not willing to stop the porn, maybe you want to at least save yourselves from being criminally punished or a lot of public attention, maybe a discussion you should have with your attorneys. You're here to protect our children. I know we have board members that claim it's not porn. They suggest parents want books out because the word rape is in the book. That's not what I'm saying. I'm calling out the books that give graphic step-by-step details of adults raping children. We have kids in every school in Rapid City who've been raped. You may find these books pleasurable yourself, but the children who have been raped and accidentally pick up one of these books are devastated. They're looking for a safe place, maybe the library, so they don't have to go home. Then they come across these kinds of books. Definition of pervert: to cause to turn away from what is right, to corrupt someone morally. Who is the pervert who signs off on this crap? What do you stand for? To think that this is acceptable at our fingertips of our children? I've sent emails asking, but supposedly there's not anybody that knows how to answer. One of the books, it has a picture of the vagina. I took a photocopy of it. The next picture in another book has the woman's genitalia very present. A woman with multiple hands touching the breasts. Another one of the pictures is the woman laying naked as she masturbates herself in the book. Another one has a woman sucking on another woman's vagina. I'm not just reading these books saying, oh, because the word says George Washington raped a slave. No, I'm talking about the stuff that is pornographic. It's graphic. This is one book of many. I'm not going through the policy of one book removal for 3 to 4 months, 3 months at best it takes to remove a book. If I even just start to touch the tip of the iceberg with 200 books, I'm sorry, but 3 months for one book, that's a lot of time. You probably have the time to spend 3 months per book. I have a very busy schedule. I don't have the time to put 3 to 4 months per book with this kind of stuff. I kept it super clean tonight. I didn't bring the nasty stuff out. I kept it clean with what the material I found. And I think it's sad that if you choose that this stuff is okay for our kids, instead of protecting our kids, that falls under perversion and it does break state and federal codified law. Oh, one other thing. Books are heavily filled with racism. They promote it, they disseminate it, and they encourage racism. So it's no wonder that we have folks bringing that to our attention as well.
Thank you. Murray, and I can't read the last name. Lee, okay.
Thank you. Good evening. I've met some of you in different capacities over the years. I've spoken in front of this board before. I've spoken in private with many of you. And I just want to say that I wholeheartedly agree with what Sunny and Anissa both said about racism in schools. You know, I've heard stories from parents and students as young as 6 that experience racism. And I think that's just incredible. In this community, I think that's just absolutely mind-boggling that that still goes on. I was a student here when I was a kid. You know, I lived here most of my life. Went away once upon a time, worked for a Fortune 500 company, came back. You know, I liked the pace of Rapid City. I liked the size, but I didn't like the racism. I experienced racism when I was a kid from teachers, from my peers. I'd even, you know, I was really good at sports when I was a kid. And I would get those kind of side-hand remarks of, you know, yeah, but you're a good Indian. We don't mind you, you're a good Indian. And that stung. And that kind of stuff still goes on. And worse, much worse. So I would just ask and implore that things that are within your power to do as a board, I would ask that you guys do that for the sake of the children. It's hard enough being a kid. It's hard enough to be a kid these days. I think about when I was a kid, and then I think about kids now and the things they deal with. It's tough. So if there's something we can do to make them feel safe, to make them feel seen, visible, cherished, then I think we need to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. And Rocky Atkinson.
Hello again. My name is Rocky Akison, and I'd like to start tonight by thanking so many people that came up here tonight. I think almost everybody except for like 1, maybe 2, asked for accountability. And I'm here to talk about that tonight. I return this evening disappointed with the lack of accountability that this board has taken for the comments made at the April 4th meeting prior to the start of the recording. Early this morning, I sent you all an email that attached with an attached video that I had taken. This video contains the discriminatory comments I spoke about last meeting when I requested an apology. I explained in my email to you all that I started video recording when a board member began speaking about emails received earlier that day. I was quite hopeful that it would be a response to the email that I had sent that day. It was not. As I indicated in my email this morning, I will now begin sharing that video with the public since there has been no attempt at correcting that discriminatory behavior. Please feel free to find me on Facebook. Those of you in the community, if you would like to see what I'm speaking about, my name is spelled Rockiel, last name Akason, for those of you that are unfamiliar. My main statement tonight is to address the comments made last meeting by the representative of Moms for Liberty. If you missed that meeting, and hopefully you didn't miss it tonight because the number went up to 200, there was a claim made that 150 books in our libraries contain pornography. I hope that that statement alone illustrates for members of the board and the community how dangerous it would be to give any one person the amount of power suggested previously in the revisions to the complaints about literacy materials policy. While I take no personal issue with parents deciding what their children are exposed or not exposed to, I do take issue with the idea that any other person gets to decide what I teach my child or what my child has access to, particularly at school. Because I was fortunate enough to sit next to the people that were here representing Moms for Liberty at the last meeting, I do have some new insights. Even though we clearly do not agree about books, I can tell you that there are things we agree on. And that's very encouraging to me. It tells me that there is a place of compromise within the realm of reality. We need you as board members to make those compromises happen. We need you to stop being stubborn and start looking for solutions, even if it's not exactly what you wanted. As I interact with the public of Rapid City, I do not see the same hostility, venom, and hate that happens here. More often than not, people in Rapid City, in my experience, are compassionate, thoughtful, and kind to one another, despite their personal beliefs. As elected leaders of this community, I hope you are able to identify your shortcomings, hold yourself accountable to do better than you have done previously, and strive to embody the positive characteristics of your constituents.
Thank you. All right, we are on to board responses to the open forum topics. I do want to start with the last comment. There was a return comment to the email, which can be available for the public as well. Secondly, we have the certifications. Hold on.
President Thomas, could I speak to that a little bit?
Yes, we do and are aware that the Department of Education has this a long process, and I think that they've sent us several emails as well. Go ahead.
Months of January, February, the whole certification at the state level was down as they implemented a new system. I know that other states experienced this as well. Montana did last year. It is a it is a process that never seems to go smoothly. I have been in talks with our CEA. Typically, our district policy in negotiated practice from negotiated contract reads that if teachers do not have certification by July 1st, they will be treated as substitutes, long-term substitutes. However, knowing that the process was down for the months of January and February, I believe that we should address that as a district, and I will be bringing forward that. I certainly don't want any teachers to not sign their contract based on fear that they won't get paid in July and August. I have also had numerous conversations with the South Dakota Department of Education, including the Secretary of Education, Dr. Graves. I think they are well aware of that, and I believe that we will extend that July 1st deadline based on the information coming to the district from the South Dakota Department of Education. So I can't promise anything today, but I will be asking that be discussed and modified for this calendar year due to the state issues with certification. Thank you, President Thomas.
No problem. And then one last thing that I would just comment on, while this has had a couple of different times when people have thought that we are not paying attention. We are paying attention. A lot of times we're making notes to be able to follow back up with either administration or with ourselves with our own personal emails when the public does come forward. So it is not that we're not paying attention. We are paying attention, but it may not look like that. Jamie Clapham.
Wow, there's a lot of heavy things. It's hard to kind of know where to start, but I guess one, I would second President Thomas, and I have said it previously, and I recognize that everybody can't watch every meeting, but that yes, we are paying attention, and a lot of us do take notes because a lot comes at us every single day by email, by comments. And I do also recognize that there are cultural differences in how people perceive when people are paying attention and they're not. So I can definitely understand that for some people that could be fitting in for that. I apologize. But truly, I can see personally for myself that I do take a lot of notes to follow up on with people, because we don't want things to just get lost and be a comment that's just said and never addressed. We want it to have meaning. We want it. We want to do our job and we want to do it well. So I did want to acknowledge that. I also wanted to say, you know, my heart breaks hearing the voices of impassioned parents, families in our community, of what you are feeling as experience racism. I've been there. I know it's uncomfortable. It's discouraging. You know, it's obviously a large problem with we don't have an instant answer to. I did want to say to whomever, if someone could notify us these town halls, I had no awareness of the one before. If we were made aware, you know, there's a Rapid City a school board that emails us all. When we're aware of things, we can try our best to be there, because I will tell you, like, when we can, we will be there, and we will be there to hear the public, and hopefully make some effective change. And that. I think we addressed the placement schedule versus salary schedule is problematic. It is something that is very much on our radar. In fact, we've talked about multiple things that came up in negotiations that really we hope to be addressed through PLMCs throughout the year, so that when negotiations come back, we don't have 3 weeks to solve the problem. So it is not something that we are ignoring, and we hear you. And I had to learn the difference between a placement schedule versus a salary schedule, and that was really confusing for me. So I am learning as well. And I would just say, I'm not gonna wallow on books. I think we've really addressed that many times. I will say, anyone, I will say that all of us truly as elected officials, and I see that are people of integrity, and I would say that it is problematic to accuse people of criminality when there is not basis for that. Also that we have legal counsel and have addressed the state's attorney, and there's no way anyone sitting in this room or at this table would ever just look flippantly at the law or be criminal to our students. And I would hope that the public who has entrusted us with this job knows that that is the absolute 100% truth, 100% of the time. And as far as, you know, the policy takes too long, I think part of the board's main job is policy. And if we don't follow our own policies, whether we personally agree with them or not, then that creates chaos. We have policies for a reason. And yes, we have a policy committee, we discuss it, we update them, but we cannot ignore, if we ignore one policy, then that leaves a slippery slope to what happens to the next policy and the next policy and the next. So I think it's responsible governance for us to stick to our policies, readdress them, but we cannot just circumvent them on a whim. It would be irresponsible.
Bishop Carr.
Thank you, President Thomas. My apologies for not being there in person. I just wanted to make a brief comments about the issue of racism. As many of you know, I brought up that issue 5 months ago at a board meeting because I had a personal experience with my nephew and the situation that he had in school. So I just make that statement to let the community know that we're not behind the wheel, that we're in front of the wheel, that we are talking about the issue that needs to be addressed. We are addressing the issue. And so just know that we're going to do that. The other thing that I want to say quickly is that we have to be careful to understand that the issue of racism has to be a community solution. I, as a board member, cannot be responsible in my personal situation. I can't be responsible for what the students said to my nephew. I don't know them. The media of the board, we don't know the students. So I just want to be careful that the board or me as a board member is not blamed for the issue of racism. But I think what we need to do is we all as a community need to problem solve to see what we can do to do our best to try to make that not be an issue in our society and in our school district. Thank you, President.
Michael Berkland.
Thank you. I just wanted to basically echo what they said and say thank you all for coming out tonight and sharing those stories and sharing those experiences. We see in our data that there is an achievement gap across the board. It's not a poverty gap like we see in a lot of other things. It is at every level we're seeing these gaps. So you're right. Racism is an issue. We do need to tackle it head on. And thank you once again for bringing that. As Bishop Carr said, not going to happen overnight, but we are in this partnership, and I will do anything that I can to ensure that it is everything I can do is taken care of.
Okay, now on to my favorite part of the meetings. Student representative reports. We'll start with Laura Jensen from Central High School.
Hello, board and all that are in attendance tonight. I am Laura Jensen, your student rep from Central. As some of you might know, I've been gone for a couple of meetings in the last month. I was absent from our last meeting because I was busy with our dress rehearsal for Central Spring Musical. Last month, Central performed Disney's Frozen. It was a show filled with magic and warm hugs for those of you that got to go see it. Central sold out all 4 shows that were open to the public and 2 shows that were local and elementary students that got to go to. And they were really, really loud. So we're pretty sure they had fun. Additionally, today was the last drama club meeting of the year. There were games and fun and voting for the end of the year awards. In our activities department, our track team has been busy with meets every week. They're striving for new heights, distances, and times. We wish them all the best in their upcoming meets. Other activities are preparing for upcoming seasons and summer programs. The summer season is fast approaching, as you can tell by the shift in weather patterns and the fact that it's not dark out right now. So that's fun. Seniors are preparing for their final weeks of school and their college finals. Many students are taking dual enrollment classes and they have their finals either this week or the next week. Additionally, it is AP week, meaning that if you know any students that are involved in AP classes, wish them well because they have a lot of exams this week. It is a busy week for all the students, and so make sure to show your support this week if you see them. Our school is showing its support to students that scored 24 and above on their ACTs. They will be rewarded with a breakfast this Thursday in celebration of all their efforts. We are so proud of the students that took the ACTs and how well all of them are doing. So that's my closing.
Thank you. All right, Kevin Biggrove from Rapid City High School.
Hello, board and everyone that took their time out of today to be able to attend. I'll just dive right in and we'll get started. Our first event is SBAC testing. Rapid City High School has completed the state SBAC test. Our staff is currently working with learners that missed the original testing day. We're aiming for at least 95% of our students to complete the test. And continuing on to my personal favorite for today. Last meeting, I shared that RCS Recycle Wars was underway. All 3 high schools are competing to see who could collect the most recycled items. While the other schools put forward a good effort, today I'm proud to share Rapid City High School's triumphant, glorious, remarkable, noble, undefeated, boastful victories with the wins over Central High School and Stevens High School. Thank you to the Student Voice Forum for sponsoring this competition, and special thanks to students who organized the event, Lily Knopp and Haley Howe. Addressing agenda items, I would like to address 2 agenda items on tonight's agenda that have already been shared. Addressing agenda item 5, sharing the success. I'd like to express my personal congratulations and offer congratulations on behalf of the entire Rapid City High School student body to Kimber Sainer for receiving the Student Volunteer Award at Rapid City High School. It is an honor to be considered one of your peers and an inspiration to see such dedication to service. Congratulations, Kimber. Continuing on, I would also like to address agenda item 5 again. I would like to continue the celebration of Staff Appreciation Week. On behalf of the Rapid City High School student body, I thank all of those in the district that work every day to provide us with quality education. At Rapid City High School, we'll be celebrating all staff next week with themed days and lots of treats. Thank you to those who I see every day. Thank you to those who I may never see. And thank you to those who I do not even know what you do. What I do know is that you all work hard for us, the students. Thank you. In closing, I'd like to remind you of our school-wide expectations at Rapid City High School. Be respectful, be present, and be courageous. I remain for any questions. Respectfully submitted, Kevin Bickrell.
Thank you. All right, and Megan Jude obviously was not able to make it. So on to conflict of interest, and none have been turned in. So we are on to the approval of the proposed consent agenda. I need a motion. Does anybody want anything pulled first?
Can we pull 10L, please?
Yes. I need a motion and a second for A.
Sorry, could I also
Yeah.
pull S?
S. Okay, we're pulling L and S. Any others? Okay, A through R, excluding L. I need a motion.
And S, including L and S.
Yes.
Yeah, A through R.
I went through.
It's been a long day.
It's okay. Deb,
I'll second.
Michael? Roll call?
Kate,
Yes.
Troy,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, on to L, Rapid City Public School Foundation Johnson Trust. I do need a motion
I'll motion.
and a second.
Second.
All right, discussion. Would you please introduce somebody who can explain this?
Yes. Thank you, President Thomas. I do have Rapid City Public School Foundation, Kara Flynn and Kyle here to address the Johnson Public School Foundation Trust. This is super thrilling and exciting for Stevens High School and West Middle School. And we are honored to have been selected. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Rapid City School Board, Superintendent, and the rest of the audience here. My name is Kyle Richards. I'm a proud parent of a sophomore at Stevens High School, and I'm here with the Rapid City Public School Foundation. We've had a tremendous honor bestowed upon the foundation by stewarding and caring for a gift that could absolutely change lives. The foundation here is here to enhance experiences and add to them for children in our public school. We do this by being good stewards of people's gifts and granting funds for our school system through various means, from grants of special equipment to helping in defraying expenses of educational travel. We have been entrusted with the wonderful legacy of Teresa Johnson. Ms. Johnson attended Pinedale Elementary, West Junior High, and was a graduate of Rapid City Stevens High School in 1979. She was also part of the German club and band, just to name a few in school. Ms. Johnson was fluent in German and spoke at least 2 other languages. Ms. Johnson went on to earn her CPA and was a local tax and small business accountant. Unfortunately, Ms. Johnson passed away recently, but her legacy will live on in the Rapid City School Area District. I am humbled and privileged to say that Ms. Johnson left a gift for the Rapid City Public School students that I'm sure she would hope changes lives, as her life was changed at the school she has attended. With the school's board's permission, we will be awarding $25,000 to West Middle School Music Program, funds to help defray costs of travel to world language students of Stevens High School, and work on projects for the science and music programs of Stevens High School, including a lighting project for the theater. Additional funds from Ms. Johnson will be put into a foundation to continue drawing a percentage out every year to continue funding lasting and needed experiences for our children for many years to come. We will be holding a celebration on May 9th at 8 a.m. at Stevens High School to honor Ms. Johnson and her lasting legacy. What an honor and lasting tribute these funds will be for our students. As mentioned earlier, I know one day these funds will change someone's life by getting them interested in a language, or maybe becoming a scientist, or even becoming a world-renowned musician and making a lasting impression through music. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for entrusting us in your generous gift and lasting legacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I think this is very significant and really wonderful.
It is. Thank you, Mr. Richards, for speaking so eloquently to this legacy. I know that in conversation with Stevens High School and the various departments, it's just hard to express how significant a gift of hundreds of thousands of dollars is to Stevens High School's music department, science department, and world language department. I think they have been great stewards in working with the foundation to make a plan that will continue this legacy for many, many years to come. And additionally, a gift to West Middle School's music program of $25,000. It's amazing that someone made this choice to entrust the foundation with such a significant amount of money to impact kids. So thank you very much for being stewards of that and working with the schools and the departments to make plans for future. And I'm excited about the celebration on Tuesday morning. I hear the jazz band, 9th grade jazz band will be there. So thank you. Mrs. Clapham.
Just really quick, I just want to say, I feel like yes, this is an incredible gift. And that the district and our students, but what a testament to how investing in our community and our schools, how that lasts, and how when people are impacted, when they are students, how that comes back around. And so it really shows, if you're at this desk for 3 years, 6 years, 1 year, however long, how all of us and how we impact our students today, we have no idea the ripple effects that could make, and just that hopefully, that motivates us and reminds us of what we do every day does make an impact and can make impact for literally generations to come.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Kate,
Yes.
Troy,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
and Michael.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right, on to S, the addendum of the elementary mathematics instructional resource purchase. I need a motion.
A motion.
Michael? Okay, Deb? Discussion.
I just wanted to pull this because I have got some emails about the process from teachers and from others. Because of that, the way it worked out with the consensus. And I agree. I also have some kind of concerns about that, but that was at the end of the day, the process that everyone had agreed on. They did have a consensus on that. So I guess we're kind of there. The other thing I want to say about that though is, unlike the one where I was voting no, I do have confidence that both of these are great curriculums and that our staff are going to do great with either one. Sure, the curriculum guides the process and all of that, but much of it does come down to who is teaching it and how we train them and how we help them out. And it sounds like we have a great plan for that. So before I voted yes on it, I just wanted to make sure that I did hear those did say that I heard those concerns and give kind of some of my reasoning for that.
I would reiterate or fall back on the same comments. I've gotten some as well that because there was the consensus, I kind of wish that part of that process, they would have re-rated it and casted their votes again after another moment, because it seems like it went from one to the other and back to the other. I just so close. I do have confidence if trained properly, it'll go as well. But I would like in the future for that rubrics to maybe strengthen to make a for sure much more determined pick. So
President Thomas, the TLI department and the leaders that led this process, the work that went into that, I want to say that I have the utmost confidence that that department had a huge effort to really make sure that the curriculum adoption process was very exact and very meaningful. Because if we travel back to last summer, the summer of 2022, we got through the science curriculum adoption to vote and it was not passed. So I think this team had every intention of making modifications to the process for curriculum adoption to ensure that we were getting information out to everybody, having opportunities, getting lots of feedback, and also had a very sure and concise plan on what to do at the end. Now, I will say this, I think that we have learned, and I think that future piloting groups and future groups will probably spend a lot more conversation at the beginning about, do they want an 80% consensus? Because that's a really high bar. And obviously we have watched how that worked out with math. What will be the fallback practices? How many votes will they take? I mean, I think all of that will happen. But I do want to congratulate that we are learning from things that happen, and we are making adjustments to make it better every single time. And it would be my belief that an entire group, it's never going to be 100% consensus. Somebody's always going to be upset about how something goes. And, but now that we are here and moving forward, I want everybody to get behind what we are doing. And I believe that we will. I absolutely believe that having teachers feel heard matters. But at the end of the day, we followed the process as it was laid out, and we need to pass this tonight so we can get stuff ordered so that we can move stuff out and move stuff in and get training to happen this summer. So I appreciate the board for listening and sharing that they were contacted. But I also encourage the board to pass this adoption so that we can go forward. Thank you.
Mr. Berkeley.
Yeah, the other thing I just wanted to add on to that is 23 is a lot of teachers, but it's still a small portion of our teachers. So once we do put this out there, it's hard to say. I mean, that's with anything, right? It's hard to say how it's going to be perceived all the way out as well. Because just like us up here, they had representatives and those representatives voted. So we might get it out there and other people might try it out and we might have them be all in love with it and people come around. So we just never really know. And like I said, I think it's going to be great either way, even though it's not like right away it was 5 to 20 or whatever, and then it went to 20 to 5 the other way. At least we're split in the middle there at the beginning. So that's all. Thank you.
All right, with no other discussion, we have roll call. Yes.
Roy.
Yes.
Deb. Yes. Jim.
Yes.
Jamie.
Yes.
And Michael.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, we have moved on to items for board information, and first one is Beetle Shoes That Fit donation. Is that you, Mrs. Swago?
It is. Thank you very much, President Thomas. This is the second year that General Beetle has applied for this Shoes That Fit donation. It is for 100 pairs of athletic shoes for students at General Beetle. The Shoes That Fit vision is that one day every child in America will be empowered to step forward into a bright future. And so I would encourage the board, when this comes up on the agenda the 16th. Okay. We will, if it may be on the agenda next week, it just may, I will check with Jackie about that. Second thing, can I go on?
Yep, please.
The second thing is an update on the strategic planning process. We have had 2 steering committee meetings. In between those, there were focus groups held from 7:30 to 8 p.m., 2 days in a row. Each group had an hour and over 155 voices were heard. That information was compiled into some pillars that kind of rose to the top of things that seem to be very important about public education in our district. So the steering committee has been working on some information about those pillars. We're going to meet again May 17th. After that, there will be a survey for all stakeholders, parents, community members, taxpayers, business, and anybody who wants to fill out the survey to comment on the pillars and the information that has come forward so far. This strategic process is different than the last one because what we are working on right now is the overview, like the highest part of the strategic plan. After the strategic plan is adopted and the pillars are determined and the mission and vision statements are determined, then we will get into the heart of how that plays out at each grade level. And so there's a lot of work to come. It's not going to be completely wrapped up in a pretty package by June. We will continue to work as a district, but I'm really excited about the pillars that have come forward so far. And so to share those with the entire board. The number 1 pillar is students. And I love this because one of the focuses of my leadership is keeping the students in mind. So that is number 1. The second piece that came forward and rose to the top is facilities. And that looked at what we need to do to keep our facilities operational and up to date, but also where we need to possibly look at going in the future with facilities. The third is communication. I will say that without a doubt, I hope that we're making strides, but I will also own the fact that we have not perfected this role in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot of work to be done in communication. The 4th pillar is community. And that is a powerful thing to come up into the school district as well. We are an entity of our community, a very powerful entity that impacts lots of students and families. But we do this role with the help of the community. And so I'm thrilled that that rose to the top. And the last pillar that came out is staff. And staff is vital to this organization. So the top pillars that we're looking at right now are those 6 things. And I do think that they reflect what I hear and what board members hear for this community. So I'm thrilled, and I will come back after May 17th with more information.
Thank you. All right. Are there any board members that have any committee reports? That they would like to report on? Okay, Mrs. Clapham, go ahead.
I will be brief. So one, the finance report, very brief. So as most people know, we've been busy with negotiations, and that has taken up the majority of the finance committee time, effort, energy, brainpower. But as a result of that, we should have the preliminary budget to be voted on at the next meeting on May 16th, which means contracts can go out. So that's very exciting for us to make that next step. And then as far as the Public School Foundation, I just wanted to report it's very active. I'm learning a lot of people don't necessarily know what the foundation does. And one of the things, one of the major functions is it provides grants to staff in the district to apply. There were a couple that really kind of rose to the top this year. One of the grants provided it's an app called Canvas, and it allows teachers in iPad pencils, and it allows teachers to actually write on electronic, like if it's an English paper, you can actually write on it and even provide voice feedback to students in their papers. And the teachers have gotten really, really incredible feedback, and their ability to communicate with the students exactly the kind of editing they need. And they found it really, really useful. And that came through the foundation, as well as a grant for West Middle School robotics. And they actually made it to regional national competition with some of the items that were able to be provided and grow their ability to perform in those robotics competitions. So we see the fruits of those grants in the district every day. And so I said, a lot of people don't necessarily know about them, but the foundation does great things with those grants through our schools.
Thank you. Mr. Brooklyn.
Thank you. I just have a couple updates from my I serve on the PAC in the PAC. So the Title VI PAC, Indian Education, they just had their annual meeting, and there were some great discussions there, but they did end up approving the grant plan last week. So that should be, I believe, coming through our board here shortly. And then just a couple events that they're having. The senior honoring and feather tying is on May 24th at Central High School. I don't know what time, 5:30, I think. And then they also have their honoring our children Wachipi on June 1st. And then the other PAC, the Performing Arts Center, has just announced their 23-24 season. So you can check that out. And the pop-up party, which is their kind of big fundraiser of the year, is on June 30th. The theme is Time Machine. So I encourage you all to check that out and consider donating. Yeah.
Thank you. Bishop Carr.
I'm sorry. Board members, you all received the minutes from the facilities committee, but I just wanted to make the public statement that South Middle School project is in full swing. That progress is being made. One of the exciting things that's being reported is the atmosphere of cooperation between the different agencies that are responsible for that building, and also the endeavor to try to cut costs where we can, and try to be fiscally responsible with that building. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks. Okay, we are on to info item, Rapid City Area Schools 7th grade football.
Shirley, can you make sure no one's in the waiting room? Mr. Karn was going to join by Zoom in the.
Bobby is the whole time as a panelist.
Right. Okay. Coy and I are going to speak to this. I know he had a son who had a athletic event tonight, so I'm sure he is supporting his child in that. So for many years, there has been a gap in the ability for middle schoolers to play football, because my understanding is that organized football, little younger leagues of football, my husband can speak to this much more eloquently than me as a college football player, but that stops after 6th grade. So there is a gap year where there is no football opportunities for youth in our community. 8th grade football is where we pick up football in the school district. And we have noticed that although football through 6th grade is incredibly popular in Rapid City, I think that gap year with no opportunities sends kids out into a lot of other interests. And we see that in a very small number of students signing up for 8th grade football, which then does impact our high school football program with lower numbers. And more than anything, I think it's the 1 year of school football before we start competitive football. So, Coy, would you have anything to add to that?
No, Superintendent Swiger, you make some great points. I think obviously the idea is always to do the best we can to put forth all extracurricular activities that are going to be well participated in and ultimately that are going to prepare students well for whatever their next phase is. And I think football, speaking from experience, is a sport in particular that if you have a gap year, it makes it very, very difficult to compete and continue to have a competitive program. I would just add also, I think Mr. Karn did a nice job of putting his action item together to the board. I think it's important to point out the difference between ongoing costs of the program versus one-time costs. So ongoing about $40,000 in coach salaries, $2,000 to $3,000 in referee fees and game operators, and then $3,000 to $5,000 for equipment each year, replacing pieces of equipment. So ongoing costs approximately $40,000 to $47,000 per year. The heavy lift obviously is the equipment in year one, which is around that $46,000 to $47,000 mark. But I just wanted to make sure that you understood the differentiation between those two areas, and that's not all ongoing costs.
So this is brought forth as an informational item. It will be on, we're here to answer questions, but the intent is for it to be on the consent agenda next week. But if anybody would like to make any comments or ask questions, Coy and I would love to attempt to answer them.
Any questions? Discussion? Okay. All right, thank you. On to the superintendent report, please.
I think we need to move the superintendent report to someplace other than after the board information, because I feel like I end up talking a lot at the end of meetings. So obviously I spoke a little bit to the strategic planning. That is happening. Negotiations wound up. To my knowledge, every group has ratified what has moved forward. So I'm thrilled that this was a great negotiating season. I think it's important to recognize that I love the fact that we had committee reports tonight, but board members do a whole lot more than just attend 2 Tuesday meetings, official meetings a month. So they attend official meetings, they attend study sessions, they attend committee meetings, they attend strategic planning. They attended negotiations, which was a whole lot of hours. And at the same time as negotiations, they attended the equalization boards for taxes. So I just want to point out that being a board member is a heavy lift, especially in the spring. But having board members participate in negotiations is incredibly important and powerful, and it means a lot to staff members of the district. So thank you for your work on that. Mr. Berkland spoke about the PAC meeting and the annual meeting where they adjust their budget. Title VI is funded by 506 forms, and 506 forms are filled out by parents, and they fill those out and they say that they are registered members of tribes, or the child is a registered tribal member, or a parent or guardian is. And the number of forms we get in is solely how much money we take in. And so based on the number of students who have listed themselves as Indigenous on our information item. You're good, Toby. Yep, we got it. But thank you. I'm more than happy to pause my report, but they didn't ask any questions. You did a very nice job putting that together. So thank you for rushing over here. You would have done better, I think, than Coy or I, but we carried the load there. It will be on the consent agenda next meeting.
Thank you.
Back to the pack. So the 506 forms. So we have 62% of our students who identify themselves in registration as being Native American Indigenous. 62% fill out the 506 forms. So we have done a lot, not we, Angel and IT, Nancy Williams have done a lot of work, and we are now able, with the blessing of the federal government, which is very difficult to get, we have moved those 506 forms into Skyward registration, and that was a heavy lift by Angel Lee and Nancy Williams. They had multiple meetings with the federal government, and that has been approved. They are so happy with the work that we did that they have told Skyward that they can push it out to all other Skyward school districts that have Title VI funding. So they're not paying us for the work that we did, but the fact that that has been approved, 2 districts in the entire nation have been approved in the last 2 years for digital registration forms by the federal government for Title VI. So it is huge. So I want to shout out to that team for doing that hard work. I attended the regional superintendent's meeting. The Department of Education had a representative come. One of the things that they spent a lot of time talking to us about was the fact that the Department of Education is very aware that we have a teacher shortage in South Dakota. Yesterday, if you were paying attention to the media, there was some information pushed out that there are 515 teaching positions currently open in the state of South Dakota. We have 39 at this time in Rapid City area schools. And as the fact that our contracts have not been issued and signed yet, that number could change daily. That is quite intimidating, I think, to our principals and to myself as the superintendent. So the Department of Ed has started a para training program to certify paras in teaching. They have given districts the opportunity to pay student teachers if they agree to sign a contract to teach in the district after they student teach. They are working at different certification paths. Obviously not well, but hopefully they'll get better at that. And the new Secretary of Education, Dr. Graves, is really a blessing to have in that role because he's coming out of Mitchell School District and he's very aware of what districts around the state are facing in hiring and the competition between districts. And it's nice to have somebody that we can have a conversation with at the state level about that. And I expect that more attention will be paid to that moving forward. I hope it continues to be reflected in funding of education in future legislative sessions. I've been working with Rapid City Police Department and the Pennington County Sheriff's Office on a school security grant. In that grant, we intend to fund a school safety manager position that can work with all the principals in training and be the point contact in the district when any secure your room or a lockdown or any even the drills are happening, to have somebody out there and communicate. We've had a couple of secure your room situations in the district in the last couple of weeks. In one instance, it was pushed by accident, so we need to figure out how to improve that because that's not very good because everybody comes running when secure your room or lockdown buttons are pushed. And in the other case, I think we needed some more training because I don't know that in debriefing about that, it was a situation where the button should have been pushed. We had a situation in one classroom with a student. And I think we should have just, done an all call to keep students in the rooms until we had that situation taken care of. So I'm excited that we will advertise and hopefully pull in somebody who can be our point person for that. And I know that Bishop Carr has expressed a lot of concern that we keep safety at the forefront of our conversations about school. I attended Music Memory. Mr. Birkland was also a guest judge with me. He did not get asked to guest conduct the Black Hills Symphony. I did. That is not my strength. I think I will leave that to the, oh, he has a video. I told him that was a blackmail for the future, but he was nice enough to send it to me. I've not been brave enough to watch it yet. I will own that. But what an incredible experience. My daughters did not compete in Music Memory. And so I was unaware that Black Hills Symphony comes and plays live snippets of music that is super, super impossible for me to even begin to identify. And the number of students who got 100% on their test and the teams that did so incredible with 2 bars, like 8 notes. And they could identify the composer and the song title and what, like if it was in, I don't even know, major work. Yeah, it was so impressive. Jamie Clapham's son was involved. She was, I think, a volunteer.
I was a team parent.
She was a team parent, so they all had matching shirts. It was really quite impressive. There's been a lot of discussions about Rapid City High School next year and some changes and shifts that we are trying to make to adapt to needs of our district as a whole. We have had a very open conversation with the administration at Rapid City High School and with the administration of Stevens and Central. We are pulling back the high school behavior program for 1 year in order to make sure that we are addressing the needs of the students that are currently enrolled in Rapid City High School so that we can continue that. We have ideas of how we're going to help support Stevens and Central with that delay for 1 year. But we are jumping fully into the middle school behavior program. And I really think it will help be a blueprint for what we're going to need moving forward for the elementary behavior program in the fall of 2024 and for the high school program to come into being in the fall of 2024. I went to Crazy Horse for an education symposium that was their first ever, and they invited different people from colleges and school districts from around the state. And I was able to present with Bobby Joe Donovan on the pathways and our shift to the 3 pathways. And it was very well received. I had lots of people reach out and ask for the PowerPoint and the information. So I do think we're still at the very cutting edge of what we're doing there. I attended the Spirit of Volunteerism breakfast. We had multiple students recognized at that breakfast. It is quite commendable. The students that were here tonight, some of them were recognized. Our Stevens High School National Honor Society was recognized, and many people in the community. And the volunteer efforts in this community are outstanding. I know that Ms. Clapham challenged people in the community to volunteer some time, even an hour in classrooms. We have a really good volunteer process. There's different levels. There's, if you want to be alone in a classroom with students, you need to go through the whole thing and get fingerprinted. If you're going to be a visitor, it's different than if you're going to be a volunteer for a field trip. If you're going to come in and help weekly. We have different levels of that. I would encourage you to seek out our volunteer information on our website if you're interested. I attended the Central High School Pathways signing event where they ask all of the freshmen after they've gone through freshman seminar to pick what pathway they want to study. And they get a certificate and they get handshakes and they make a big big deal out of it. And found it interesting that it happened the same week as football draw, but it was kind of the same type of thing. It was very powerful, and the number of students who picked the various pathways, it was really interesting to hear what pathways students are picking. I met with Ty, and I really want to say that I'm impressed with the opportunities they provide locally for us to partner with them to get support for education. So don't be surprised if I bring something forward. I met with teammates. I know that the board has been very supportive of that process. We have doubled our teammate mentors this year and are looking to double it again next year. So we're gonna move forward with that. RCA, as we said, the contracts, the certification, I really loved the idea of the hold harmless clause. So we are working on that. Tomorrow I'm meeting with the Children's Home Society of the Black Hills. They are a great partner. In my previous position in the district, I oversaw a teacher who does literacy work above and beyond out there. I'm really interested in growing that partnership with them as we move on. And my last piece of note is tomorrow we are interviewing 5 candidates for the Corral Drive principal position. And that is super exciting. And so I will be forthcoming, I hope, with a offer to somebody to be the principal of that elementary building on the next agenda. Thank you very much, President Thomas.
Nice. That is a full, wonderful report. Thank you. All right. Any others from board members? Mrs. Clapham.
I'll a quick one. I want to wait till public meeting to say a huge thanks and congratulations. Central High School's Frozen was absolutely unbelievable. There just are no words for how impressive those students were and how captivating, and it was just a phenomenal show. And my daughter is still talking about the fact that she met Elsa and she has her autograph, and that is like her life can end now because she has met Elsa. So thank you to them. And I want to thank Michael, Nicole, and also Shane Daniel, our IT director, for being guest judges. Having a student and getting to just be a mom and not judge was really fun. And just to see, it's really cool to see different areas in our district. You know, we get excited about sports, but to see these kids get so excited about classical music. I mean, they were literally like giddy shaking when the music would come on. And it was just a really cool experience to see that 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders knowing, you know, pieces of music that I cannot identify. It was pretty impressive. And to the retention and recruitment, so I'll mention there actually the Associated School Boards of South Dakota has frequent Zooms, and I was on a Zoom last night with Western South Dakota school board members, just brainstorming and talking about how we can retain and how we can recruit. So we're all working across the state and trying to share information with each other to help that situation. And also just to say the people on Zoom, the people who are here, to thank you. I know it's not easy to speak publicly. It's not easy to sometimes when things we are passionate about, things we might be angry about. But I appreciate the willingness to come forward and the willingness to reach out. And that's the only way we are going to build. We're going to get better. We're going to understand our weaknesses and our strengths. And so I appreciate everybody who's willing to put themselves out there and reach out to us.
Mr. Brooklyn.
Thank you. As they mentioned, the music memory was wild. Like the way they reacted when they get that song right was the same way a football player reacts when they get a touchdown. They were hyped up, they were hugging, they were bumping up against each other. It was great. But what I wanted to say was I just wanted to give a personal thank you and say happy Staff Appreciation Week to those here and those out here, especially those here tonight. Seeing you with those students that were volunteering, just glowing and so excited for them. It just warmed my heart. And kind of related, as Mrs. Swigert mentioned, we had a whole bunch of volunteers that we approved tonight. So I just really wanted to say thank you to them and shout out them, including our own Bishop Carr, unless there's another Troy Carr around here. So I just want to say thank you to our staff and the other volunteers that are working in our schools for us.
Awesome. Okay, if there's no others, I don't see any more hands. I need a motion to go into an executive session for SDCL 1-25-2.1.
Make a motion.
Deb,
Second.
Jamie. We need a roll call.
Kate,
Yes.
Troy,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. There will be no further action afterwards. Thank you for all coming and staying as long as you did.